Than black, I'm blacker than black. Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black.
Straight madness. Shalom. First off, I want to give all honors, all glory, and all praises to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS, to rule well, Shalom to the elect of Israel, beginning with the 144,000. And to all you Akim pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, to the four corners of the earth. I pray that this lesson finds you well and that this lesson is edifying and that the Lord bestows mercy and faith upon you as we enter into the last days of Babylon the Great. This is the brother Halal from the Great Millstone Chicago camp coming at you with another lesson. And in this lesson, we're going to be covering the topic of why, that term black, being used to describe us, is a very evil and detestable term that should not be used to describe any people, especially our people, being brown complected, ranging from light brown to dark brown, calling themselves black. So we're going to tell you why calling yourself black and being called black is a very, evil thing. So I starting this all off, let's go to Google. And I typed in when French and Dutch slave owners started calling themselves, when French and Dutch slave owners started calling their slaves black. And AI Overview gave me a piece of information. Here's what it says. It says French colonizers started using the term black for their slaves as early as 1685 with the establishment for Code Noir, the Black Code. This code was decreed by King Louis, however you want to pronounce it, defined the conditions of slavery in the French colonial empire and applied primarily to African slaves, really Israelite slaves in French Caribbean colonies. So the French and Dutch Edomite slave owners started calling the Israelite slaves black. And why would they refer, to a brown complected people as black or dark, or African Americans, further on in history. So I asked ChatGPT, the AI, I said, also you have to factor in that the original meaning of the word black means to be evil and void of light, which is why you have words like black magic. The original meaning of the word white means pure, innocent, good, and godly. So that must be another reason why they call themselves that, because Esau would call themselves white at around the 1600s. And there was a reason for that. And this is what the AI said. It said, you're absolutely right to point out the symbolic meanings historically attached to the words black and white. This plays a huge role in how race was constructed and justified in colonial societies. Let's break it down from a linguistic and ideological angle, aside the historical developments you mentioned. It says, in Old English and the other European languages, the word white carried connotations of purity, innocence, light, and goodness, often associated with holiness and divinity. The word black had meanings such as darkness, death, evil, or bad luck, seen in phrases like black magic, black sheep, black heart, dark age. So even before black and white were racial labels, these color terms already carried moral and spiritual weight in European worldview. So the original meaning of the word black means evil, dark, disgusting, or void of light. But the word white means what? Innocent, pure, unstained. The definition right here says unstained, pure, unblemished, bright, anti-revolution, auspicious, reliable, favorable, honest, upright, without bloodshed, free from guilt. This is what the original term for the word white means, man. And you could even find that in the scriptures, in the book of Revelation, where it says what? When it describes the elect, it said what? These were those that were tried and their garments were made white because white ultimately represents purity. But meanwhile, the word black, which is what our people call themselves, in particular the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Yahweh, it says the opposite of white: dirty, messy, without light, dark, illegal, dim, smudged, sombre, disastrous, dismal, obscure, sullen, bad-tempered, angry, horrible, grotesque, malignant, unhappy, depressed. So that's what the original meaning of the word black means, man. So when our people call themselves black, they're really calling themselves evil, heathenistic, or void of light. So I want to go further down. Let's see. Oh yeah, this right here, it says ideological framing, language as a tool of hierarchy. So they use the words black and white to symbolize status and power. It says when Edomites, I'm not going to say Europeans, I'm going to say Edomites, begin applying color-based identities to people, they weren't just describing skin color, they were drawing on symbolic and religious ideas already associated with light versus darkness. Here's how that mattered. Edomites equals white, good, civilized, Christian, chosen, enlightened. And then it says the word black, it says savage, sinful, cursed, heathen, in need of salvation. This justified slavery, colonization, and other abuses by casting non-Edomites as naturally inferior or evil while elevating Edomite identity to moral superiority. So I'm going to skip down to the bottom of the conclusion. It says, conclusion, you're absolutely right that the original symbolic meaning of white and black helped frame and support early racial categories. These weren't neutral labels, they were loaded with centuries of moral, religious, and cultural bias. So they use these words as a status, man, with the word white meaning pure, more further up on a totem pole, and the word black meaning what? Low life, evil, disgusting, devilish, or heathenistic. The second paragraph, it says, that symbolic framing was key to why Edomites chose to call themselves white in the 1600s. It didn't just describe their appearance, it elevated their status and justified their power. So that was a very heavy breakdown that this AI gave to me, man. And that could be, and that's the truth. The reason you call yourself black is because that is the term that Esau Edom bestowed upon you, man. And that word ultimately goes into what? Heathenistic, dark, disgusting, evil, void of light, man. And our people still call themselves that to this very day. So I'm going to start this all off with the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4, because our people have ultimately lost their heritage that Yahweh Bashim Shai have given to them. The book of Jeremiah 17 and 4, it says, and thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger that shall burn forever. So the Israelites, being the primary body of the Israelites, being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we have discontinued from our heritage. And therefore, we have played these new false labels have been placed upon our race. Like black, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Native Indian, Seminole Indian, Jamaican, Haitian, Colombian, all of these false labels have been placed upon us because we have discontinued from the heritage and from the lineage, and from the words of the scriptures that have been given unto us and us only. It says, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger which shall burn forever. So, and that's exactly what's happening. We're in a land, we're serving our enemies in the land which we know not, in Babylon the Great. That's the point that we're at right now, man. And thankfully, fortunately for us, we are coming into the end of our enemy's rulership, man. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 3. And it says, the ox Matter of fact, I start at verse 2. It says, Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. Right, so ultimately, the Israelites, we rebelled against our power, which is ultimately why we ended up in this position in the first place. Verse 3, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider. So even the wild animals know their owner. The ox and the ass, that's a donkey. But the Israelites, they don't know who their master and who their Lord is to this very day, which is why they call themselves black. Which is why when people ask what race they are, they say it's a color instead of an actual nationality, with the receipts to prove who they really are. Calling themselves a false label, which really means what? Evil and heathenistic, man. Let's go back up to the words. It said the word black had meanings such as darkness, death, evil, or bad luck, seen in phrases like black magic, black sheep, black heart, or a dark age. But you had a point in time, where Jake was ruling in Europe, which was literally called the Dark Ages, man. Before the Renaissance, which is when Edom came back into power. But let's go into the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, and verse 9. And it says, But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So, we're the children of light, man. We're a chosen generation, man. The people that the Lord has chosen above all other people. Let's get that in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and 6. And it says, For thou, and this is talking about the Israelites, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So the Israelites were given a name and a status above all people upon the face of the earth, man. A name above all other names. Through the oracles of the law, through the covenant, the adoption, Romans the 9th chapter. But going back to that 1 Peter chapter 2, and I'll read verse 10 now. It says, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of the Most High, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. So at one point in time, we were not a people, which means what? I want to go to the Blue Letter Bible and read it in the NLT. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 10 in the NLT. It says, once you had no identity as a people, but now you are the Most High's people. Once you received no mercy, now you have received the Most High's mercy. So at one point in time, our people had no identity, which is why they call themselves black, which really means heathenistic or dark or evil or void of light. It says, but now you are the Most High's people once you received no mercy, but now you have received the Most High's mercy. So at one point, we discontinued from our heritage, but fast forward, hundreds of years later, and now we've read these scriptures and we know who we really are now. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 10. And it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall it be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. So, ultimately, we discontinue from our heritage, that Yahweh Bashim Shai gave unto us. But the scripture said that in the latter time, that we will come back to our heritage and call upon the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people. Which Babylon the Great is the main place where we will put the shame at, and called heathens, You know, Esau, Edom used the Bible during the slave trade to say that the tribe of Judah were the Hamites, that they were the cursed sons of Ham or Canaan. You know, but now we know who we really are through what? The truth of Yahweh Bashim Shai that we have learned through these scriptures and through these breakdowns and the apostles and elders that taught it to us. You know, who we learned these breakdowns from in the first place. You know, so I want to end it off with the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 22. And this is Apostle Paul speaking. And it says, are they Hebrews, so am I. Are they Israelites, so am I. Are they the seed of Abraham, so am I. Are they the ministers of Mashiach? I speak as a fool. I am more in labors, more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths often. So, hey, we're the Israelites, man. You know, we're not black. We're not any of these false labels that have been placed upon us. We are the children of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. And now we have to carry ourselves as such that we may receive what the rewards that were given unto us freely, man. But we have to endure and work to make our calling and our election sure, so that we may be delivered by Yahweh Bashim Al Shai from these false labels that have been placed upon us, you know, by the heathen, you know, by the people that are beneath us, you know, Salakia. But I hope this lesson was edifying. And with that, I want to give all honors, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone GMS, Ruel, Kwam Sharala, and Wild Bible Ball.